This is Past the Rock.
We're going to take a small detour about regarding the Super Bowl, because now we got to talk about the halftime show. And then Becky, Patrick, this is y'all's time to shine, because I know you guys love yourselves some Kendrick Lamar. I love me some Kendrick Lamar. What do you guys have for thoughts on the halftime show? Becky, you kick things off.
Yeah, I mean, I will not lie and pretend like I'm a revisionist. I was disappointed initially, but selfishly, and you guys ended up being right. I think both of you sort of alluded to this would be more about the Drake beef than it would be about his overarching career. And that was definitely the theme of this, it feels like. It wasn't just about Drake, but
He found
obviously
some ways to turn that into some other things, but yeah.
yeah, it wasn't just about Drake, but it certainly it closed the book on the Drake chapter. It feels like I think.
I hope so.
Well, at least for Kendrick Lamar's journey on
Kinda
this,
timing,
I don't know that we're gonna have too much more Kendrick conversation about Drake now that this has been done. You know what I mean? We'll see in time, but yeah, it was a really awesome one. I've got the set list here. Naturally, you have half of America that's not even half. Fuck them, less than half.
I think about a third of America watching.
No. I meant the people who are pissy about it.
Yeah.
And then you have
focused.
yeah, and then you have obviously a lot of people who are really excited to see. I mean, it's weird to say it's been 15 years of Kendrick Lamar being one of the more impactful artists out. So it's cool to even have him have his solo moment. Obviously, he'd already done the Dr. Dre thing, but this was really cool in its own honor. So a lot of fans were just excited to see him sort of be a part of that next echelon. And of course, like I did talk about last week, is I was like, I want him to do something shocking. I want him to do something interesting with his time. I mean, he's in front of Donald Trump of all people, as well as America, right?
Yeah.
And so he did not.
Do we think Trump was still there at that point?
Not sure we got a confirmation on that or not. I think I've
I'm
heard
pretty sure
somebody
after
say
he
that
was
he
on the
left after the
screen.
halftime.
Oh,
But
wow. I would have been surprised he even made it through the first quarter, but
I mean, he is not. He honestly, I don't know that I would not call him a thick-skinned person, but I also wouldn't exactly be surprised if he just sat through it just to bitch and moan later on, because he also loves to do that. He loves to have a reason to play victim. So it's really
I
both.
feel like there's not
I
enough
would
about
assume,
him going on there for him to sit for very long.
and
Yeah.
also one thing that I can't stress enough is I don't think, just based on a lot of the reaction that I've seen, that he would even have the media literacy to understand what the fuck that performance is all about.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's not a very intelligent human being.
Yeah, I don't know about him, but I definitely know that there was a lot of misinformation as far as just not comprehending what was going on. You had some people who were calling it boring. You had some people who were calling it what was that what was
Dark
another
woke.
there, yeah. Then you had the people who just didn't really know what was going on, but they were pretty sure that it was against them.
They've heard that word before, so
Yeah, and then you had the best reaction from that side of the aisle was the people who thought that they were actually
Patriotic.
in my opinion, it is patriotic for what he did, but in their opinion, it would not be patriotic.
Once they
Obviously,
understood
so
what was actually going on.
yeah, in my opinion, there is no truer American story than the one he's telling at that moment. But at the end of the day, those people don't really matter. It was great to see the fans in the stadium. There was some of those clips that got put into the arena where they were just old people who had probably paid thousands of dollars to go see this game, just not giving a fucking shit about.
He's
Now,
pretty
here's
much
the
the
thing.
least traditional option that they've used. I don't mean that by how he looks, because hip hop and rap are huge.
Yeah.
I mean that in that
mean,
he's
I would think
he's
Dr.
an
Dre.
artist first before
Well, I
so
think there's just
he's not doing bangers. He's got a lot to say, and that's not what the halftime show used to be for
right, but we also have to remember why we're here, right? So we had a situation where we initially just used every pop star, every hot act, right? And then eventually something happened. Justin
Dislocation.
Timberlake and Janet Jackson kind of scared the NFL into going into what was basically a decade of dad rock halftime shows.
Well, and then also you have
It was like a half decade.
It was a pretty
because
good
the-
while. It was a pretty
because it
good
was like
while,
I think
dude.
it was 5
I
years.
feel like
right?
the Who had it like twice.
No, you had the Who, Tom Petty, and the Heartbreakers.
Paul
They
McCartney
did-
was the first guy after. Paul McCartney was the first show they did after. That's how they went so far the next year. It was, I think, the Eagles Patriots Super Bowl, right?
No.
or
Oh,
what?
yes. Yeah, he was that one.
And he was and Paul McCartney was their halftime show, and obviously I love Paul McCartney, so that was awesome. But it was as safe as you could have gotten
So,
at that point.
Here's where they started to let
McCartney out
up.
there.
I want to say, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick, if you're looking down the history list. But once they handed the reins over to Prince,
Well, Jay-Z is the other factor.
Well,
Jay-Z
Prince
started
came before
being part
Jay-Z.
of-
well, no, Jay-Z's
No.
like in charge of putting it together.
Yeah, Jay-Z
currently.
is-
yeah, but like that
Jay-Z
was the Prince came before Jay-Z. In
right,
terms of like when-
but you also have to understand Prince is kind of dad rock. It's not one for one, but
And
that's
he's
not
not-
that far of a
He's a Venn
deviation.
diagram.
Yeah.
he's
There's a lot of
That's
dudes
why I
who-
said they started to let the reins. They
Yeah.
started to let the reins get a little loose, right?
But then Jay-Z and Rock Nation got a part of this, and then we've had Rihanna, Usher, Beyonce, The Weeknd.
Don't forget though. I want to say I believe it was the first
am I
Super Bowl in
missing?
Jerry World where they started to go back to pop artists, right? Because you had, I want to
Eyed
say
Peas.
it was Black Eyed Peas and Usher.
Which is
Oh, but that
just
was I
one
got
of
a
the
feeling.
absolute worst things that's ever happened.
Yeah, but like, when did Rock Nation get involved with the NFL? Because that
would have been
whole-
mid 2010s. Because that's only been about 6 years they've been. But I mean, he's been in charge. Like I said, it's the last 6 years have been, Usher, Rihanna, Beyonce, The Weeknd.
All right, because let's see. We're gonna go. I'm just gonna go quickly, kind of off of from the Eagles, right? Eagles Patriots, the first one. Paul McCartney. The next year, you have the Rolling Stones. Then
Right.
you have
Old
Prince.
man. Right.
Right.
Prince still in the
Tom-
dad rock.
Still Dad Rock. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. God,
Oh
that's-
yeah.
that's
God
super Dad Rock.
God rest his soul. Great.
And here
And,
comes
Dad
my
Rock.
least favorite.
Bruce Springsteen in
Oh
the
God,
2000
the peak of dad rock.
All right. And then you get to 2010 and the
I
Who,
forgot Bruce Springsteen got it.
right? And it's
Yeah,
not
The Who,
until
Okay,
It's not
this is
until
where we
we
break
get-
off from dad rock.
this is where we break off because now we get the Black Eyed Peas.
So yeah, this is
Makes
where they
sense.
changed to a different entertainment group
Company.
being in charge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
This is
okay.
the guy
because-
who now they brought in Jay-Z to work with this guy, but it's Ricky Kirshner's the one who
Okay,
kind of
right.
changed it up.
Okay,
And
so
now- and
from
now
Black
after-
Eyed Peas, keep going.
Yeah, you have Madonna, which
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, big pop art, yeah. Okay,
now we go Beyonce. Who can forget the
okay.
lights went off?
Beyonce was that long ago. Okay, it did feel like it wasn't that.
Beyonce's done the Super Bowl halftime show.
There's
like 3 times.
also a Destiny's Child reunion. Yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Dre. I forgot the Dr. Dre one earlier. Yeah.
And then
Sure.
we can't forget it's Bruno Mars and the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Okay, I definitely forgot Bruno Mars and the Chili Peppers did it.
he's all wrapped up in tape and shit, right? Or
Hey,
was that
good
The
for the
Weeknd?
Chili Peppers. Good for the Chili Peppers.
That was the
though.
weekend. Bruno Mars just like played all the instruments, right?
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
the
Cool.
weekend.
and then
that was a really good one.
after
Good-
that, you get
for
Katy
the Chili
Perry
Peppers.
with Missy Elliott
Left Shark.
Oh
and Lenny
man.
Kravitz.
Oh fuck. Yeah, that was. What
was
were
a
they
weird
even
one.
doing?
Oh, get
All right.
ready.
All right, now here's the one. It's the most forgotten one in terms of who the actual main headliner was,
Oh, God.
because you had Beyonce and you had Bruno Mars, Mark Ronson, but the headliner was Coldplay.
They just had their
Coldplay,
first like
right.
EDM /
Yeah.
pop songs coming out.
And it had a couple of all right ones, but it was still pretty much Coldplay.
I mean, they're built for that style of show. Them and Beyonce,
Yeah.
like that's what their
Yeah.
shows are. Is for those
Yeah.
kind of massive.
They're
like,
stadium
U2.
rock.
Yeah,
Yep. Now we get into Lady Gaga the next year.
Right, Gaga had it.
And then she was a solo act, but she has enough hits for that. Justin Timberlake, which a snooze
Yeah.
fest.
Right, and that was kind
after
of
the-
fucked up because they brought him back, but then they've never really,
Yeah, which is
Janet
really
still
sad.
kinda takes the L.
Yeah, it's really sad. The Justin Timberlake.
he's got a lot better
Wow.
songs than she does.
I mean, it is that simple, but at the same time, it's
For a
the
general
NFL, so
pop
it's not like they
audience,
give a
yes.
shit about protecting the shield. Is my favorite quote that all these assholes use.
Now, here's one that just did not make any sense when you look at the combined acts. You have Maroon 5 as the headliner, but you also had Travis Scott and Big Boy.
Oh
So it's
God!
in Atlanta, which is why Big Boy's there, and I think Travis Scott was their potential bridge for
that
like
one,
drum
that
on
one,
rap songs.
that one pissed a lot of people off too because they had such a good moment. And I mean, ultimately, Tom Brady would have fucking pissed all over it.
I
But they
love
had
the
such a good moment because that was when Migos were basically the biggest artists on the planet, and then they could have done a whole Atlanta, you
Rap
know,
scene.
they could have potentially got Big Boy and Andre together for
and
that.
this is the last year before they added Jay-Z to the mix.
Yeah.
But just listen to this. So it starts just Maroon 5. They do Harder to Breathe. Then they sing This Love. And I need to go back and watch because I need to see what the transition was to go into sicko mode from that.
This Love, the sicko mode was really
Yeah.
the transition.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then you
That's
go, Girls Like
crazy.
You,
Which
She
I don't
Will
even know
Be
what that
Loved.
one is.
She Will Be Loved. And then you get into Big Boy's
Solo
Kryptonite,
catalog.
The
Did
Way
he-
You Move,
Wow.
Oh yeah, so he did
and
some.
then Sugar and
And
Moves
back
Like
to-
Jagger to end it up.
Moves
Now,
Like
let's get
Jagger.
into-
Moves Like Jagger was the only reason.
So
they
it
were
really
there.
was a Maroon 5 show. They just added special features to make it seem like it wasn't
They had
whitewashing
their,
the Atlanta Super Bowl.
Yeah.
they had
Exactly.
their DEI hires for the Atlanta Super Bowl.
I mean, it's
No.
the fuck they did. So
But
But
then,
guess
all
what
right,
they
now,
did in Miami?
Miami felt very appropriate, except for one addition. Right?
Did
You
you
have
do Bucket?
Shakira. Right? You have
Oh,
Shakira,
right,
but you
right,
also
right,
had
right.
Jennifer Lopez, who had no business being there. If we're being
She's
real,
just Jenny
if we're
from the
being
block.
fucking real, right? She had no
They
business being
actually
there.
let her do like 4 of her songs, 5 of her songs, 6 of her songs.
Did
Something
she
like
do a
that.
Selena song?
No, I don't believe there's a Selena cover.
No, I
Yeah,
don't think
no.
so.
Yeah.
Now we also had Bad Bunny and J Balvin as the guest.
Oh yeah, that was they did it. Yeah,
And so you're in Miami,
That's
a lot
fine.
of Latinos
That's
there.
fine.
That
I'm good
shit
with
was great.
Yeah. It's at least them trying. It felt
The
like.
last song they did is called Waka Waka, in parentheses, this time for Africa. I'm sure it's a powerful message, but it's a funny thing to read on a Wikipedia.
Oh, they used the World Cup. I forgot they played the World Cup song.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you had the Weekend, which that it's so weird to have that in the COVID Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was a weird Super Bowl, but I mean, the Weekend it was a fun one.
And then of course we had Dre, Snoop, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, 50 Cent, Anderson .Paak, all involved in the LA Super Bowl. That one was more like a Super Bowl halftime performance by committee. Rihanna, and then of course last year we had Usher with some special guest appearances by Lil Jon, Her, Will.i.am, Alicia Keys, Jermaine Dupri, and then of course we had Kendrick, who only had SZA as the only other guest artist. So
come on, Serena danced.
and that's why I said guest artist.
She was art. I mean, that was art.
Performing?
Dancing was art.
Yep. But she's an athlete. She's an athlete.
We had Uncle
Samuel Jackson.
Uncle Samuel Tom Mule Jackson.
Yeah, so So we had Sam Jackson was also your surprise guest to start this off, leading us off as
That
Uncle
was great.
Sam.
He pretty much filled the role of like what Jim Carrey did on that Dawn FM Weekend album, just narrating. They bring it back to him every once in a while, does transitions. It was awesome. It was cool for the show.
So allegedly, PlayStation was what this was based off of. Kendrick wanted it to sort of mimic video games. and
Yeah,
that's
so you
why
could see
Game
in
Over
the
was
corners
the final.
the X square, triangle, and circle at the beginning, but I wasn't sure if it was PlayStation or Squid Game.
Yeah, it was a little Squid Gamey at first, but no, he did
you can work
say
those together. That's fine.
it was.
Yeah.
He did end up, or they did end up saying that was the point. Was it to look like a video game? Obviously, it says Game Over at the end. And which seems seemingly a reference to the Drake beef. I guess whoever. I mean, maybe it's the last time we ever see Kendrick Lamar again. Who knows? But I don't.
Yeah,
think
but
so.
with the last 2 songs that he used as part of the set list, not
yeah,
like
I got the
Us
set
and
list
TV
here.
off.
I'll go over it in a second.
Yeah, with Not Like Us, TV off, and then Mentioned Drake by name has that evil smirk, looking straight into the camera.
And we
My
talked
favorite
about it.
part, and my favorite part, that whole stadium, even the old people, I'm sure, they were all screaming out A minor.
Yeah, that was great
Yeah.
video cam that we got eventually from people's phones.
But you
Um,
could hear it on the TV broadcast. Like that shit was loud as hell. So
yeah, there was also one of the dancers popped out a Free Palestine
it was
flag.
a South Sudan Palestine flag. So
Yeah,
both sides.
but did not end up getting
Nice, any
charges pressed on them. So there
But
you
they
go.
are banned
good
from
call.
all NFL stadiums for life, I believe.
That'll be all
So
right. That'll be all right.
Yeah, I don't. That's not a big loss.
Worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so kind of to run through the set list, it starts off with the whacked out murals intro, and then he starts freestyling the little teaser that's not officially released. I guess from what they're saying is
it was from the
people refer to it
video.
as bodies, is
Yeah.
what they're calling it, and that's when they did it to squabble up. When was no, it wasn't until Peekaboo that they did the little set with the
Yeah.
dancers. At this point, they're doing they're forming the red, white, and blue. They're all coming out
Yeah,
of the DNX.
they
They're
all filed out of the Grand National, which was cool.
and then you have them playing Humble, which when they're in the actual flag, they were doing Humble, and then they kind of break off and start marching. I think that's when DNA started, and then
Yeah.
Euphoria. I think they started with DNA. They broke up on DNA, and then Euphoria starts
Yep.
as they're walking down that long platform. And then he gets to the it was a light pole or whatever, and then he
Yeah,
does
for
the man at
Manning.
the
Yeah.
garden. And that's when they get into the little PlayStation, I guess the D-pad
Right, yeah.
formation, and then they do Peekaboo, which that I think was probably the visually coolest part of this whole show for me at least.
Oh yeah.
And then SZA pops out, although you could have already seen her kind of hiding.
Yeah.
This is where I need to stop. This is where he first teases "Not Like Us." Of course,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
sort of the important part of this is that we all knew he was going to get around to it. I think again, we all expected him to do the Sam Jackson thing, even though we didn't expect that exactly. We expected some version of that. We expected a lot of symbolism, but we were kind of constantly, all right, what about Good Kid, Mad City? All right, Po Man's Dream. Oh, what's getting pulled out here? And it wasn't anything like that. It was very direct. It was very to the point. Everything sort of choreographed
I'd
more
be
than
very,
just
very
people.
interested if the Super Bowl, if the beef had been shifted where the Super Bowl was closer to it, if it would have just been 15 minutes of Not Like Us, which would have been peak TV.
Well, but now we've had many lawsuits. Now we
And
even
let's.
had
I'm
censorship.
glad you mentioned
I
that.
just think he's lost steam
If
on
I could,
caring about it,
if
He's
I could
moved
stop
on.
you on the part where you're like the lawsuits, he says that right before the song's like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna play everybody's
three
favorite
sides.
song, but somebody likes this, to sue or whatever the exact quote was, but I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
Throws that little shade out there at Drake's like, what are you gonna
Yep.
do? Sue me? Go ahead.
And so that's when that happened. All the Stars live, which apparently is the first time since 2019 I saw that tour live. One of the honestly, I've
there
seen
with
plenty
you,
of awesome
actually.
live stars, live shows.
That
I
was the
think-
TDE tour, right?
Yeah, the
We were
TDE tour at the Pavilion in Dallas at Fair Park. Probably, I would say that song performance easily one of the top 5 things I've ever seen live. I mean, SZA was unrecognizable from it was almost like they were playing the live track. But you can't play the live track that clear. You know what I mean? It was really good. And then yes, Not Like Us finally gets into an extended intro. Serena Williams pops up doing a little crip walk. And then eventually that breaks into Mustard, and DJ Mustard comes out. And of course, it ends eventually on TV Off, which is exactly what your boy did as soon as look, Drake, if Drake didn't turn his TV off, I don't know. I certainly did, Kendrick. I listened to you. I knew, I was like, after this point, there is no longer a need for me to watch this program.
I put in a few more minutes. I mean, I did end up watching the whole thing, but I was on my phone the entire second half.
Oh man,
yeah, I didn't even have much faith in the Chiefs to pull that one out. It had looked about as beat up as I'd seen a team. But yeah, so look, I'm very disappointed. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to hide from it. I'm very disappointed that I didn't get the best of. But that, I guess, was kind of the point. And I think even one of the TDE people that came out and said something similar to that in the last couple days to people like me who have said these things, that it was bigger than that. And again, that's where it's, I think it's interesting that Kendrick used this stage to I mean, obviously he plugged the whole album, the whole new album. That's awesome. I mean, everybody's going to be your record label is excited for the if no one else is, right? But um as far as this being what I have to assume is the last we'll ever really see of him mentioning the beef directly. He might reference it in passing in the future, but like at this point, it feels like
He's got
that
to be
was
sick of
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels
Uh,
like
but
there's nothing else to be said either, really.
no, not at all. And listen, when you have the set list break down the way that it did, the visuals, and it's open for interpretation, and you could like you can bet that Drake saw the game over and like, all right, he was probably seething at it, but you can't go anywhere if you're him other
Well,
than you just
maybe
got to move on.
He
did
can
And
do a
then
Grey Cup halftime
yeah,
show.
but did he tell his team to leak the information about him and Party Next Door's new album
to try.
uh, the
Well, the
next
first
day?
thing that he did was fucking throw a photo up there of him hugging Serena's old agent or some shit or manager. I'm like,
Uh,
Oh,
oh,
this
dude,
well, apparently he
yeah.
also got on a Finsta. I guess he has a fake Insta, and he got on there to start talking shit to Joe Budden too. Apparently,
Yeah, it's like he's just trying to get the attention somewhere else. And it's like, bro, this is sad. You're going outside.
we don't have time for this today, so just don't look it up ever. But I do want to do a game show of guess who played the Grey Cup halftime shows.
oh
Um,
god.
Oh, is it all Canadian
I mean,
artists?
is it people I would actually know? Is
yeah,
Rush? Has Rush ever done it?
you'd be surprised.
Feels like Rush has had to, or they might be too anti-sports as a concept.
And they didn't start doing the Grey Cup till the 1990s. So
Ah, okay, yeah.
Uh,
Well, I mean, Rush was still around, but yeah, I don't think you could have got Geddy Lee
uh,
for any cheap price at that point.
we can.
anyways,
This could
that's
be an
for
off-season thing.
yeah, that's
Notable,
for another time.
notable
Uh,
baseball historian Geddy Lee.
There you go. All right. Now, I think we're done with the halftime talk. What do we say?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, I don't think there's too much else to say. It was a great time.
I need to go back
already,
and watch the video because I mean, you said you're disappointed, maybe more than the set list. I was just disappointed because it seems like they can't get the live mix to sound right. And obviously, no
well, yeah, I
rapping is
mean,
difficult
yeah.
live too. But I want to go back and watch it since it's been touched up.
No, he sounded. I mean, he did an amazing job rapping. Like, obviously, the way he had to switch things up, the way he performed that
For
live.
sure, yeah. Just I
But
need to
yeah,
hear
I
it.
hear
I
you.
need to hear it touched up a little bit because
It's
in the moment I wasn't entirely sure what was going on every second.
Yeah.
it's much easier for them to portray the guitarist. It's easier for them to portray the vocals when they're singing it. It's a little bit more
But I
difficult to
think it's
step
like
up.
this no matter who's out there. I feel
Yeah,
like
it's also just a
the next
stadium.
day, yeah, the next day they obviously can give you something a little bit better. So
Yeah.
audio
Yeah.
wise,
Yeah. I mean, just to give my quick brief thoughts on the halftime show. I enjoyed it. Yeah, Becky, I'm with you in that. Like, I would have preferred like a variety or like a more variety of
I
his
wasn't
hits.
asking for Untitled Unmastered, bro.
Yeah, I was expecting some good Kid Mad City. I'm not out here like, yo, Kendrick, where's that Section 80 at? Right, where's overly
But
dedicated? But
I do understand where people were like, "Hey, you know what? Some of those songs just wouldn't have fit the theme of what he was pulling off," and I completely
exactly,
get
and
that.
also most
once you
artists don't want to just keep like he's like an artist in the true form, not like he's not a pop star. He's literally like
exactly,
he's trying to make things that can
True,
feel
but
things, and he doesn't.
also there's a documentary called "Shut Up and Play the Hits." All artists should watch it once in their life. All fans of music should watch it once in their life because guess
There's
what? That's the hard reality of
you can
life.
have that opinion, but he doesn't have to do that.
No, no, no. I
So
know, I know. It's not necessarily my opinion.
yeah,
It's
I
the
just yeah.
reality of industry,
Can
and
be, but
so
he's at
for
a
him, he
level where
doesn't
he
have to do
can
that
yeah, he's
on
gotten
that
himself to a
platform.
level where he doesn't have to do that, so
Well, he does have to do it. If he goes on tour, like you go see him on tour, you're getting all those songs. But when you have a Super Bowl that's very condensed,
do
you're
you
not
think
getting all that.
the Grand National Tour is featuring a lot of
I mean, when I went to see the Damn tour, he played
okay.
fucking all that he played. He didn't play a lot of Section 80, but he played all the ones he needed to play from Section 80. Ronald
okay.
Reagan era, all that stuff. Yeah.
I just assume he's doing, like, the tour for the album, he's doing that stuff, and then
Well,
the
because
next one's gonna be the next
it's
one.
very easy to toss that shit into a medley, so that
That's
you
fair.
give the people what they
Yeah,
want, and you don't have to sit on it for a while.
yeah, there you go.
But, yeah, I just
Yeah.
think he had the opportunity to put on essentially make a musical for his album, and he did that.
Mhm.
So
For the
I thought
most
that was
part, yeah.
cool.
Yeah. And
No,
like I said, once
it was a
once
very
I saw
arguably the most thematic I think a
Yeah,
halftime show's ever
it's
been.
absolutely hilarious because it was the wrong choice for the country as far as like what people want to think they want to consume. Like there's a reason I heard this mentioned today. There's a reason they don't throw Radiohead up there. Like they'll put on an awesome show if you want to hear it.
Well, yeah, some of it's just like it's also just the artist, right? So like you're talking about radio. We always make the Kanye joke because he's unruly, right? But Radiohead's on the other side of things where they're unruly from an artistic standpoint because they're like, "Hey, man, you got to play Creep," and they're like, "The fuck did you just say to me?"
Yeah, the guy who doesn't want to be in a rock band, despite being in one of the most famous rock bands of
Yeah,
all time.
exactly. So it's a little bit different on that. Yeah, there's different levels to the artists.
Yeah, that is one thing where because Kendrick's hip hop, he's able to because they can still find a way to sell that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. I'm
Not
Well,
getting
it'll be
interested.
you're not
interesting to
getting
see. Is Jay-Z done with it now?
I
I mean,
hadn't
Not
heard
until he
I wonder-
performs himself, right?
that.
Is Jay? Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, Jay.
He-
Jay.
he's
That
gotta
is
book
weird,
himself.
but I guess maybe that's his way out. Is he's like he gives it to the successor, and then the successor's like the first person I have is Jay-Z, and
Now-
and then I have to do it. Is Jay-Z ballsy enough to put Kanye on stage for just one song?
No,
No, not
not this year.
not even the one song from Watch the Throne.
no.
He just
I
does
don't
it
even think he
solo.
touched that song.
He does it solo. No, he definitely does it solo. If
Does it solo.
anything. Yeah,
What
that's
did we
too,
get?
that beat was too big for him to ignore it.
You can't do it solo though. There's so much. You have to have someone doing those.
You can
live.
do it solo because you could do a different section of the song. You wouldn't necessarily do the build up. It wouldn't be the fun part of the song.
Yeah,
You
it's
would throw it at the end of a medley. Is like that. You wouldn't
Yeah.
even. You would just
Yeah.
kind of teased it like 15 seconds, and then you just
know what
move
he's
on.
not gonna do is freestyle over it.
Hey, he doesn't write anything down, bro. One take home.
Take home. There you
He doesn't
go.
write anything down, but someone does.
One take home, bro. One take home. What do you mean?
Yeah.
One take home.
All right. Well, that'll do it for the halftime talk.
This is Past the Rock.